Hello, I'm Dango Rose. Welcome to the Mountaineer Podcast, where everybody's listening. The Mountaineer brings you the latest news of the Peak-to-Peak region, in print, online, through our podcast, social media, and special publications. Now, listen in to the latest news of the area with our local journalists.
I'm an old man heading down this old highway. When I'm heading on home to that place I was raised, gonna see the old house and the empty field.
Welcome back to the Mountaineer Podcast, where everybody's listening. I'm Barbara Hardt.
And I'm Doug Armitage. This month's featured artist is C.P. Meyer, a local musician from Netherlands. He's releasing a single called Chaos on February 1st. The song is about his reaction to the COVID pandemic.
This episode is brought to you by Brightwood Music, Hardt's Backhoe, Netherland Chiropractic, Roy's Last Shot, the Salon in Netherland, and of course, the Mountaineer newspaper.
Our first story will be an interview with Tracy Tyrer, Holly Phillips, and Angela DeSanter of the Salon in Netherlands. Take it away, Barb.
I am sitting here today with
Holly Phillips at Hair by Holly.
Angela DeSanter at Mountain Massages.
And Tracy from Hair by Tracy.
Thank you so much. Let's start with Holly. What date did your business start?
My business started June 18th, 2018.
And Angela?
My business started mid-October of 2021.
And Tracy?
Well, I've been doing hair up here since 1999. I've had a couple different businesses in the meantime.
And Angela, what inspiration did you have for starting the business?
Oh, that's a good question. My inspiration for starting the business was that during COVID, it was half capacity, and my practice down in Boulder was closed for a period of time, and I felt a little safer and more comfortable and more in control of the demographic of client I was able to see and the precautions I was able to take. And also in the hair salon, the two stylists had to separate so they could work with half capacity. They were generous enough to take me on board in this space so we could split it 3 ways and they could separate and work and I could also join.
Great. And Tracy, what inspiration did you have for starting your business way back when up here?
Basically just love doing hair. I've been doing it for about 10 years before I moved up here. Just found a salon that was for sale and I bought it and there you go.
I have been in this industry since 97. Tracy had learned that I was working in Boulder and was interested. When she was going out for her hip surgery, she found me and said, "Hey, what are you doing going down there? I need you up here." That inspired me to do my own thing. And of course, I wanted to be more part of the community. It seems like to do that is to own a business.
Obviously, you have a little bit of difference between your businesses, especially from massage to hair, but what makes you different from other businesses up here that are similar concept?
I think one of the differences from what I know is during COVID, massage therapy became something that was difficult to continue practicing. And I'm not sure I know too many therapists up here, but I know there are a lot of massage therapists here. And if anyone out there would ever like to trade me, I would thoroughly enjoy a massage trade. And I think there are other talented therapists in this community, but one thing that may set me apart is location. I know a lot of people do it out of their house, and with COVID, people were unsure if they wanted to go to somebody's house. So having something that's centrally located for people and regular schedule, safety precautions in place for COVID, I don't know what anyone else is doing in their practice, but I know in my practice, I am masking and taking sanitary precautions, which I'm sure most people are, but you can be guaranteed that that's going to happen here. I have an open window and a HEPA filter, but I do a lot of deep tissue work and offer prenatal massage. My cost is, I feel, pretty on the lower end for massage therapy because I want it to be something that everybody can afford and not just certain demographics. I want everybody to be able to get a massage if they want it, whether it's once or twice a month or, every week, but affordability is also important for me.
So I think what sets my business apart from most, or if any, of the hair salons up here is that first and foremost, I offer in-home services. That is a big deal for me. I once had a benign tumor growing in my elbow, but I would have loved for somebody to come and brush my hair to make me feel more comfortable at home. Something that I also do is I work a lot with seniors. And I don't currently, but I've had clients in hospice care. I just think about what can I do to contribute to my community to help these people feel better and more comfortable in the last days of their lives. And that's really important to me, is to help people to feel more comfortable. The products that I use are vegan. They are gluten-free, cruelty-free, ammonia-free hair color. I also use premium products, but I don't intend on ever robbing my clients for their dues. I set a very reasonable hair color price that includes free haircuts, really just to kind of help it make Netherlands more affordable, still in Boulder County, getting quality haircuts for a very affordable rate.
Tracy, what's your favorite part of what you do?
Just my clients. I've had them for a long, long time, and then just every day is fun, I enjoy my clients. I enjoy my work.
Holly?
My favorite part is honestly that sense of reward from how my clients feel. From once they're transformed, they feel blah when they come in and happy about themselves. It boosts their self-esteem. And getting that little bit of therapy that you don't always, it's free therapy.
And Angela?
When I got into massage, it's been since 1999, so 20-some years ago, one of the biggest reasons I wanted to become a massage therapist was so that I could also get massages. I knew that getting massages was one thing I was going to want and need desperately in my life. Selfishly, one of my favorite parts is the accessibility to training. Because I love it, I love to receive massage. I also know how that impacts other people and how much other people love to receive massage. So for this career, it's definitely enjoyable to see people get up off the table and, thank me for the service and that they feel so much better, to help them through whatever physically they're going through, and then sometimes emotionally too. The two are tied together. So, I get to meet all kinds of new people and work within community. I've met a lot of members of this community by having this business up here, and connection. There's a lot of connection. Those are some of my favorite parts.
And let's see, you don't really have employees. It's each of you running your own, so there's no... How did COVID impact your business?
Actually, in a way, we had to shut down for the 2 months, obviously, which was weird. But honestly, it was I was busier than I had been in a long time because people were afraid to go down to Boulder or Denver. So I think I worked 28 days straight for the first month, and then it quieted down. But it was okay. It's been so up and down anymore. It's just hard to predict anything anymore.
So, but ultimately, you got new clients out of
I got a lot
people
of new
not
clients.
wanting to go down the hill.
And some have left and go back to their stylists, and I knew that. But yeah, clientele definitely grew.
And Holly?
Yeah, I'd say that I definitely lost some clients, but gained much more. My sense of normalcy really came back in August when back to school happened. And kids wanted to get their back-to-school haircuts because they were going back to school.
Right.
And then they wanted to, have their friends like the other friends, their hair. I want my hair like so-and-so. and then it was school pictures. And then I had that very normal week of study clients before the holidays. And I've just been slammed ever since. I would say that my biggest impact was definitely having to close the shop, having to rework some things for client needs as they are falling ill, and still being able to accommodate them by being outside and performing haircuts outdoors, which is something that is really big for me. Obviously, it's a little challenging to do that kind of thing in the winter, but during the summertime, I would love to do more of those. The other thing that really impacted me was the whole 50% occupancy thing. Not being able to be available 7 days a week is challenging, simply because I have been available 7 days a week.
Right.
And I have changed that and just kind of shifted my availability to only salon appointments during my scheduled hours, and then on my days off I accommodate those in-home services so I can maximize my client time.
And Angela?
COVID impacted my business greatly, I would say. First by shutting down completely in the initial shutdown, but then coming back to massage, it was something that I think not only fell off the plate for a lot of people financially, because I think it's one of the first things to go if people can't afford things. You're obviously going to take care of other things first. And the safety issues around being in a confined space with another person with so much uncertainty during COVID. So I feel like my massage practice suffered greatly in many ways. The aspect of my practice that is down in Boulder, especially because I didn't come back fully until I was able to be vaccinated. However, I did open this spot October of 2021, which was a huge blessing because I was able to set things up in a way that made me feel safer, with an open window and a HEPA filter and double mask and face shield, and just kind of slowly crawling back into massage. And I feel like I think that for this business up here in this location, for me being open about 14 months or so, I feel like I've done really well as a startup in getting clients. But it's still been a slow crawl, and I have two businesses up here, and both have really suffered in COVID.
Not only are we being super neurotic, I think is the best word, about wiping things down, we're really sticking to schedules. We're not stacking appointments right now, and that's simply to keep everyone healthy and safe and less exposure. But we've also, our space is, the air filter to this space is different from the vet's office. So we do have HEPA filters in there. We also each have HEPA filters in our own space, which might be a little bit overkill since mine is for like a 600 square foot space and it's literally like 50 square feet in here.
It's clean.
But it makes me feel good. It makes the clients feel safer. We can crack windows. Like each of us have a window in our space that we can open. We have this. And when I was thinking about creating this space for Angela, I had envisioned this curtain so that they wouldn't be trapped in that tiny little small room, that we can open this up and we can make a giant room for people. Obviously, hair and massage is not happening at the same time, but that I think was something to add, is that, we really go above and beyond in sanitation, and frankly, that was before COVID.
Tracy, you started up here because you bought the company from
Nova, who was Innovative Cuts.
Do you feel like overall you're growing as a company?
I think so. Well, and also the growth up here, period. The people moving up there. A lot of people. I'm still getting a whole slew of new clients calling that had just moved up here in the last 6 months, last year.
So the entire month of February, I'm doing 20% off of all nail services. Love your feet, love your nails. It's so dry that we forget about our hands and our feet, especially this time of year where, sticking them in ski boots and taking them out of ski boots and have our hands shoveling snow, that we totally forget about it. And so I like to encourage people to come, especially during February, to get their, a little bit of pampering, because it's often forgotten this time of year.
Thanks, Barb. And now to the news desk. This week's movie is Don't Look Up, rated R. Two low-level astronomers must go on a giant media tour to warn mankind of an approaching comet that will destroy planet Earth.
This week's edition of The Mountaineer includes several Keep It Local features. Keep It Local is a campaign to help businesses share their information and story across the Peak-to-Peak region. Keep It Local is funded through Nederland businesses by the town of Nederland. Keep It Local Gilpin is funded by the Gilpin County Commissioners. All funding is through the American Rescue Plan Act funding. You'll see 104 stories from Nederland and 104 stories from Gilpin throughout the entire 2022 year. In the February 3rd edition, you'll see stories about Hardt's Backhoe, Roy's Last Shot, Mid-County Liquor, KPK Realty and Property Management, and Brightwood Music.
The Gilpin County Arts Association presents an acrylic painting workshop with GCAA Artist-in-Residence Virginia Unseld. Immerse yourself in color with this one-day class, perfect for beginners or those who want to jumpstart their practice. The event takes place on Saturday, February 5th from 9:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. at the Gilpin County Arts Association's Washington Hall in Central City. Register by calling 303-582-5952.
The Mountain Man Outdoor Store carries new and used outdoor gear, Carhartts, Loki, Darn Tough socks, hats, gloves, goggles, helmets, t-shirts, sweatshirts, and more. They have everything you need as a Ned local and everything you didn't know you'd need when visiting Nederland from afar. They are located at 20 East Lakeview Drive, Unit 111 in Nederland.
For our next story, we'll talk to C.P. Meyer about his new hit single, Chaos, that was released on February 1st, 2022.
Hello, my name is Jamie Lammers, and this is my interview with local musician C.P. Meyer.
Hi, I'm C.P. Meyer. I'm a musician here in Nederland. Been up here for about 4 years. Play a mix of bluegrass and blues and all kinds of things.
You're going to be performing in the Peak-to-Peak area very soon.
Yeah, I have been. I don't have anything booked right now. I'm releasing a single here at the beginning of February that I've been working on through the winter. Excited about that. But yeah, definitely plan on booking shows in the Peak-to-Peak area through the spring and summer, COVID willing.
And what's the single called?
The single is called Chaos, which is something that I wrote and composed and recorded throughout the pandemic, and it's kind of related to it and our reaction to it. I've been producing a little bit of music here and there with another band that I played in Denver, but this is another one under my performer name, C.P. Meyer. It's been a rough couple of years, and that song was sort of part of COVID.
What is your musical background? How did you start getting into music, and when did you start?
Sure, I probably couldn't even think of a time when it started. You know, when I was born, I grew up in a pretty musical family, going to church, singing hymns. Both my parents sung in the choir. I was kind of always around music. Pretty young, I started piano lessons, sort of faded away. In middle school, I started playing trumpet, and that sort of faded. And then as a teenager, my brothers picked up a guitar, my older brothers, and I started playing it too. And then joined a band in high school, played in a pretty terrible band in high school, which was fun. And then ever since, over the years, I've picked up the fiddle and the mandolin, and I just sort of collect string instruments. I've got about 10 of them surrounding me here in my office. Didn't play much music in my college years. I was living in Denver, but about 7 years ago, 8 years ago, I found a band in Denver, sort of a folk rock band, half jam, half folk. Played around Denver for 5 years with them, recorded a couple albums. In 2018, my wife and I decided to move back to the mountains. I grew up in Evergreen. Came back to the mountains, Nederland, specifically because of the music community here. I know it had a great music community, and that was something I was looking for. So moved here in 2018, started playing around town in the various open bluegrass picks, and met a ton of great musicians here, and then started playing out by myself lately. Again, largely because of COVID, it's a lot easier to play solo shows, but I'm interested in getting the band back together and playing with the group again.
And out of curiosity, how did that band start?
Craigslist, I think. I've met a lot of good musicians on Craigslist over the years, and I think one of the guitarists just had put out an ad looking for other musicians, and we connected and kept it going through the years.
members have come and gone. The band name is High Street Collective. I don't know if I mentioned that. And we were sort of true to that collective idea in that two of us are the only long-standing members, and drummers and bassists and keyboard players and all sorts of people have come and gone, but the core has stayed there. And yeah, it was fun. It was just kind of a goal of playing out in the Denver scene, and we had a great time.
And you mentioned that you primarily play blues and bluegrass music and that's what you really focus on. Are there any influences that you would cite that pushed you in that direction?
Yeah, sure. One of my earliest influences was even just jazz music, Louis Armstrong and some of the early jazz players. Then I got sort of into more folk music, more bluegrass, people like John Prine. I really respect his songwriting, his sense of humor, what he brings to music. Nick Drake, the British blues player, his like finger-style blues are a big influence on a number of my songs. Oddly, Bob Marley, the idea that music can be part of a revolution or political or revolutionary is something that I took from that in high school. Learned a lot from that, and definitely written a song or two that have a sort of political or social edge to it. Then I play fiddle too, and Django Reinhardt, Stefan Grappelli, sort of old school swing jazz, gypsy jazz. I'm really into all that. That's another big influence. It's hard to pin down. I listen to any genre of music from metal to classical. So, yeah.
What would you say are some of your favorite parts about being able to perform live?
Yeah, I love getting out and conveying an emotion and watching that sort of connection between the performer and the audience. Like there's something so special about that mutual thing that occurs that doesn't happen otherwise if you play music for yourself. And yeah, just conveying the emotion of a song and then watching that reflected in the audience is something that I really enjoy. Just to add to that it's also the community events that a concert sort of creates. An event like that, it brings musicians out, it brings people out, and getting people together and around a common, even if it's just to enjoy some songs around a common thing. Something that I love. Yeah.
Is there anything else in general that you want to add about stuff that's coming up for you, or stuff that you're excited about, or stuff that you love with music, or anything along those lines?
Sure, yeah. Like I said, I got this single coming out in February. Super excited about that. As I've progressed, I've started what I call now Mystery Moose Records. It's my own little production company here in my shed of an office next to my house. Then I produced an album for High Street Collective, and I'm interested in producing more music. It's sort of parallel to being interested in music and performing. I've long had a hobby of recording and music production. I'm excited to do more of that. I have more of my own songs coming out, but I'd also be interested in sharing that more with the musician community in the Peak-to-Peak region. I'd also say I'm looking forward to playing out more, but something I've really missed during COVID is the open bluegrass picks that used to be 2 or 3 times a week in the area. And I'm excited to get those going again if we can get the community engaged and going again. I know Howling Wind has been hosting one, but excited to reconnect with the musicians, the musical community in the Peak-to-Peak and start playing out again.
I think those are all the big questions that I have on my end. I want to thank you so much for coming on board and joining the podcast. This was really cool.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm really pleased to be featured.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much, CP, for coming on board and joining us for the podcast. Be sure to keep an eye out for his brand new single, Chaos, releasing on February 1st. And for more information about the single, be sure to check out his website at mysterymooserecords.com.
Visit Brightwood Music in Netherlands, who offers an ever-changing variety of banjos, guitars, and all of your favorite stringed and fretted instruments. Every week brings new items into the store. They offer new, inexpensive mandolins, as well as student and professional-grade violins in a variety of sizes. They offer repairs on-site and lessons for all ages and abilities. Brightwood Music is family-owned and operated and has been a Netherlands staple for over a decade. They are located at 20 East Lakeview Drive, Unit 109 in Netherlands, and can be reached at 303-258-8863.
For our final story today, we talked to Kyle Busey of Busey Brews in Netherlands.
I'm sitting here with Kyle Busey, and we're talking about Busey Brews. What date or rough month did the business start?
Well, my brother had originally started the idea of Busey Brews as a home brewer. So, that was probably 10 years ago. My dad was a home brewer probably 20 years ago, and then he realized it was easier to just buy beer, and he started doing that. Busey Brews as a company officially started October 1st of 2019. They hired me as the GM of James Peak in March of that year, and then in April basically asked me if I wanted to buy it, and I'm crazy enough that I actually went.
So they were both home brewers. Were you home brewing at that point as well?
Not as much, but I've always been in restaurants. I have a degree in food and beverage management, 27 years in the industry, 26 years in the industry. So it's always been something that's comfortable for me. And, I was went to Colombia, South America to look at maybe starting a greenhouse project. But that ended up falling through. And when I got back, I ended up falling into the general manager position and kind of went from there.
And what are the business features? Obviously, you smoke your own meat and you brew your own.
Yeah, we brew our own beer and kombucha and ginger beer, and we have a full-time brew team and a full-time prep team, and we're working on some specialty things right now, like the Valentine's dinner. The menu's on our Instagram if you want to check it out eventually. Smoked pork tenderloin. We're playing with smoked butter to sear scallops with, and so it's really at a fun space now where I have the staff to be able to try these things and kind of reach out of our normalness.
How do you smoke butter?
We're experimenting, but basically you put butter in a container with the garlic, salt, pepper, maybe a little brown sugar, and then as it melts, you pretty much would stir it up and then get a lot more smoke rolling on, and then stir it up some more, and kind of you just want the smoke molecules to kind of work their way into the butter, and then it'll harden and cool again, and then we'll use that to sear scallops and other things like that.
And how long does that process take just to do the butter?
Just the butter is probably a day total by the time of getting everything ready, and then as we cool it, we put it on a flat sheet tray and then kind of roll it almost like a cinnamon roll kind of. And that way when you cut it, it's in a really cool shape.
What makes you different from other restaurants up here?
Consistency, customer service. We strive to just have the best food that we can all the time. The beer, I think, is really, really good now.
What's your favorite part of what you do?
Mostly managing the people and all the different moving parts of it. And, really, now I'm at a point where I have quite a few salaried employees who are able to offer 401k and health insurance and other benefits too. So it's more of a, it's becoming a real business now instead of just seasonal people all the time, or just whoever I can end up with. So I just like getting stuff accomplished, honestly. Like I think Janice put in the original one we did, just like having people to help me manage things so I can get through the huge piles of things that are on my desk every day I show up. So
right. Now, during different parts of COVID, you guys were doing delivery and all kinds of other stuff. Are you still doing that?
We're not doing delivery at the moment. We might start it up again. It was definitely when nobody was leaving their house kind of thing. We had a lot more call for it. So definitely doing takeout. We'll be working with the Gold Dirt again at some point once it gets this new space open, as far as providing them with food to have over there. The delivery days definitely might come back.
And how many employees do you have?
Right now, 32.
Wow.
Seasonally, we'll go up to as many as 40 in the summertime.
Are you doing the food truck that you did at the Gold Dirt before? Are you doing that anywhere else? Do you go to other festivals or other things with that?
We have, for sure. We did one of Steph's music festivals. We're going to be doing more Gold Dirt stuff like that. We're actually doing some catering for the Boulder Humane Society. Their volunteers are taking care of all the Marshall Fire animals and everything. So early next month, we're taking all them lunches all day and everything, just donating all that. We're not looking to actively set up a food truck post anywhere. Yeah. It's more beneficial for us to kind of pre-make things and deliver them to a pre-ordered kind of thing. So
right, which is more it's catering.
It's catering, exactly. Yeah. It's more of a catering thing than we tried breakfast burritos last year in the morning. Like I set up in my grocery store parking lot over there, and it was not as. I mean, we sold a couple for sure, but like people are already heading up to Eldora and stuff, and so yeah, it was hard. But
Right.
so as far as the food truck thing, probably more of a catering truck. Yeah.
Right. How fast are you growing as a company? Have you seen growth through COVID?
Yeah, absolutely. Unfortunate as the whole situation is, it's really been a blessing in disguise for us. We've gotten good at to-go food, which we were never good at doing to-go food when it was busy. Like, it was just too hard. But now we're good at that, and we were able to really come up with a lot of procedures and standards. You don't have to put this in there, but we're probably the only restaurant in Netherlands with a handbook and a serving manual.
That is amazing.
So we are really looking at that consistency side of thing and the customer service side of thing.
Where did you get the idea for this company? It was because you were working here?
Yeah, I mean, I've always kind of wanted to own something like this. I just never knew where it was going to appear. I lived in Washington, D.C. and Baltimore the first 2 years out of college, working in a hotel, food and beverage, a 600-room Hyatt, and then I moved out here and I just kind of worked different kitchen jobs and bartending jobs, and then the grocery store thing happened, but I've always kind of wanted to get back into it, and this kind of just appeared, and I decided to go for it. So.
And you said Steve is your brewer, and who else is on your leadership team?
So Dave Ridd is one of our managers. Meredith Robinson is a floor manager. Josh Burgett is a floor manager. But Bob Campbell is our smoker manager. Glenn Bowditch is our back of the house manager. And then Ivana Meyer is a prep room manager.
What would you want to see happening in the next year for your business?
Well, we almost have permits to redo our back porch area, and it's going to be covered with clear solar panels, fire pit on the inside, kind of a year-round seasonal, let's just call it seasonal space that eventually we'll have roll-up garage doors and, we'll build heaters and everything in there, so we'll be able to use it in the wintertime.
How far out does that go?
It's basically we're tearing off this deck and then rebuilding it in kind of like an L shape.
And anything else you want to share about the business in general or stuff you have going on?
I'm just really grateful for the support from the community in general, and glad that we're able to fit in and provide a service that I think has been just inconsistent in general, not only in this building but in town. And it's it's really excited to be here. I think. I love the staff that I have here. It's just been awesome. Obviously, couldn't do anything without them, and I think they all really enjoy working here.
Thanks, Barb. And now, back to the news desk for a few more reminders for the week. Peak to Peak musicians and artists, we're looking for you. Would you like a feature story in the Mountaineer? We cover all news of the Peak to Peak, including businesses, authors, and artist profiles. We also offer features on our podcast, website, and social media. Right now, these are all completed through email, phone calls, and occasional in-person interviews with our journalists. We are your community news source. Interested? Email publisher1977@gmail.com to get on the list for upcoming editions.
Hardt's Backhoe Service is your locally owned and operated excavating company, working in the Peak to Peak region. They can take care of all of your excavating needs, including septic installation, digging your new foundation, rock walls, construction demolition, and so much more. They are now scheduling for summer and fall projects. You can reach them at 303-589-9354.
And that's all for this week's episode of the Mountaineer Podcast. All editions of the Mountaineer Podcast are available on our website at www.themountaineer.com.
You can pick up this week's print edition of The Mountaineer in multiple locations across the Peak to Peak, including Western Boulder County, Gilpin County, and Western Jefferson County.
And go online to www.themountaineer.com to catch up on more local news. I'm Doug Armitage.
And I'm Barbara Hardt. Until next time, thanks for listening.
You think you got it under control. You think you're something and you think you know. Lord help you when the day comes and you're upside down in a world of confusion. Chaos can't keep us hidden away. Shit'll happen, it happens every day. You can't stop chaos, it'll come anyway. Fear won't keep me away. Keep you away. Keep it away.
And that's it for our show. Subscribe online to get more access to more news, weekly updates to our community calendar, and a link to our YouTube channel by visiting themountaineer.com. Be sure to use the coupon code PODCAST when subscribing for a 10% discount, only available to our listeners. If you are in the local Peak-to-Peak area, be sure to pick up a print edition of The Mountaineer at a local business. I'm Dango Rose. Thank you for listening.